Welcome to this clip on Photovoice. My name is Margot Royakkers, and here with me in the studio are two guests, Kirsten Bodifor from the Dominican University in Chicago, visiting professor here, and Ciliani Camargo Borges from the NHTV Breda. Well, welcome to you both. I'm really happy to have you here because you've been recently to Uganda for a project and you've used Photovoice within that project. Okay, and we're going to talk, have a talk on that. But first, maybe, Kirsten, can I ask you to introduce the project to us?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me here. Ciliani and I have had the opportunity to work together on collaborative research projects, and we both had relationships with non-governmental organizations, NGOs in Uganda, Health Nest Uganda and Hope for Youth Uganda, and we're invited to visit and learn more about their projects and their work, and we were invited also to bring in some research expertise and to design a collaborative research project with the organizations. Often, researchers can be seen as experts coming in to do research in a community, and we like to come in thinking researchers is offering expertise, but that we enter in as co-researchers with communities in collaboration. So this actually, the planning started months before our visit to Uganda, and the collaboration of designing what would be the theme, what would we want to happen with our relationships between people during our visit with our NGO partners. So that's a very important part. Thank you.
Okay, good.
And I would say that the Photovoice method is a method that really enrich this kind of research because the method really invites researchers and participants to be collaborating together. So it's not just collecting this data, but it's about generating new data, because as you take pictures, as you discuss together, as you create stories out of the pictures, you are expanding understanding of what it can be and how can you move forward with a topic.
And I'd just like to note something, like for an example, Ciliani said it generates new data, and she also talked about possibilities and meaning, and for us these are all very interchangeable. That when we talk about research, often data has a very specific connotation. With Photovoice, it expands what data can be viewed as. And if you use other methodologies like song, storytelling, it expands our view of what's data and how does data create new meaning, new narratives, new possibilities.
Okay. Ciliani, can you tell us what Photovoice is and why you selected this method in this particular case?
Okay, sure. Photovoice is a research method in which you use pictures, visuals, to understand better a specific topic. And for us was a very important approach to take, because this was our first time in Uganda, and we want to have a better understanding of the place, but from the perspectives of people living there. So the Photovoice is a method that really gives voice to the participants and use photos as a way to expand the understanding by creating meaningful stories together. And we decided that this would be a very suitable method for using our project.
Because it are the participants who take the photos and bring them back and...
Exactly, yeah.
So if we look more closely at Photovoice, you can distinguish several phases: the introduction phase, then the phase in which the participants go out to take the photos and pictures, and the third phase they come back, and then the photos are selected and subscriptions are added, stories are created. And the final phase is also an important phase because it's the exhibition phase, and guests can be invited to have a look at the picture and to maybe interact and have the message come across. Well, maybe we can go through these phases and see how you did it. The first phase, the introduction phase,
The first phase, it's a very important one, which is preparing the community, preparing your place to start with the Photovoice. And it's important, since it's a method in which you co-create together, or participants, the stories, to invite participants together to create this general theme together. And we invited them to sit together to watch a small video that it's called The Danger of a Single Story by a Nigerian storyteller.
Chimamanda Adichie.
That's her name. And in the video she calls attention for the danger of holding single stories of places and people and the importance of expanding that. And we start by asking them what would be other stories of Uganda that they would like to expand, to create with us, they'd like us to take with us when we leave. And by talking about it, by also bringing cameras with us, preparing the environment, we have this first phase in which we can get aligned together and create this general topic that they can go to the field and start taking pictures on of places that might be meaningful to them or might bring ideas of stories that they hold dearly.
So it is really a broad assignment, the way you formulated it, to come up with different stories and your own stories and things that you find relevant.
Of Uganda, of their environment, of their lives.
And just to add something onto that, the perception that many people have of Africa or of Uganda is often one of poverty, of challenges with HIV/AIDS. It's a very dominant story that's negative, that's a deficit story. And that has implications, and the youth that live there don't experience Uganda in the same way. They experience it with the joy, the love of Uganda. And so they resonated very much with this issue of a dominant single story. And one thing that Chimamanda Adichie says in the video that's so beautiful is that single stories flatten human experience and rob people of their human dignity. And I thought that that was a really important element to bring in about how to expand possibilities, expand stories.
And then the second phase is that the participants go out to take pictures. So how did you do it?
So the beauty of this phase was that we like to think of research as intervention, that we can be changed and transformed by the research. And what was really magical was that youth came together from 2 different communities and went out to take pictures together. So they were developed groups of youth from Entebbe, youth from Mukono, into teams to go out into the community to take pictures. And basically went out with the intention of taking pictures that had meaning for them, of what Uganda meant for them, meaning for their life. And in the process, relationships were developed and strengthened, which was a very beautiful aspect of the project. And then after they spent several hours going out and taking pictures around the community of Entebbe, everyone returned, and we had to develop pictures within a short period of time for the next day. And I think from there, would you like to talk about how the youth then started creating narratives from their pictures and teams?
Because that's already the third phase, the phase from the data analysis phase, so to speak, that they look at all the data they've collected and they're going to select their photos. Well, how did it go? Did they do it themselves, or?
Yeah, we did it together, and that is another aspect of the Photovoice method. That they are moments of the field work and back to have a conversation about what they are doing and how they are doing. So this moment when they come from the city and they sit together, we start talking about what were the pictures, and they show the pictures to us, to themselves, to the different groups, and they start choosing the pictures. And in the process of choosing the pictures, we would print, the stories already start emerging. So from the stories, they end up with some pictures that they selected that would be in the exhibition.
So they did them themselves, and they made the posters for the exhibition with the photos and drawings and stories. They all mingled it. Okay.
I think one of the things that was really beautiful too is when people actually took time with their one photo before they chose photos and told their stories to each other. And in that, you're also building storytelling capability, and in some cases, people were telling stories that they've never shared before, or telling complete stories about their lives, and with a group that's fully listening as well.
Yeah. So it's also a moment for reflection for on their own lives and their own identity and what's important to them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And well, then they prepare this exhibition, and the final phase, the fourth phase, is the exhibition.
One piece that was really important before that as well, when they developed, they selected their photos and shared their stories, is that they began to create kind of a collective narrative. And so they wanted their exhibition to be representative of what their team wanted to share, of their experience and the meaning around Uganda for them, their story of Uganda. And so each group came up with a title for their collective stories, which then builds a new collective narrative together, where you can find connections among the stories. And so not all Photovoice projects will move to that collective narrative piece, but it does help expand, again, possibilities and find those interconnections and themes that are emerging. And that data analysis was done by participants, and the themes were relevant to their life. And yes.
Coming up with the theme is the result of the data analysis, so to speak.
Yes. So then they went into exhibition.
Yes. And well, tell me about that. Who were invited?
Local political leaders, stakeholders, family members. There's a group of older persons who were taking leadership in the community. They wanted to come and hear the stories of the young people. So it was a very wide audience, diverse audience that came to hear the stories.
And was it a success?
It was a very success, and it's important to say that we prepared everything together again. So we had to choose a place to do the exhibition, and we couldn't afford renting a hall with sophisticated elements for that, but we want to do it together, and we had to decide where to do. So we end up choosing a place at the park. So in the middle of the park you have this space in which we went together, we clean up, we envision how we would like to show the pictures, and we organize everything, and we waited for the community to come and visit, and we were telling they were telling their stories to the audience.
Okay, and what was the impact of the whole process, of the whole Photovoice project and the exhibition, of course, but what was the impact on, well, the people who visited the exhibition, but also on the participants themselves?
And the impact on the stories. And so as people were arriving and the youth were starting to share their stories, their collective stories, they began to tell their stories in new ways, or find new meanings from their stories, or expand their stories, find connections between their stories. In addition, many of the people were able to say, oh, this picture has meaning for me, let me share my story. And so it even expanded the growth of a collective narrative to include more and more voices. So it was really wonderful. And I think the youth felt very good to have community members come and hear their stories, and to be valued for their stories and their view of Uganda.
And I also would like to add that the Photovoice approach also intends to have a generative perspective on the research, in which it's not just about collecting the data, understanding better a topic, but in the process of doing that, you expand possibilities of doing things, of relationships, of moving forward. And to us it was a success, because these two NGOs, they didn't used to work together before, and we started collaborating, and now they are there working together, and this is an extension of the project, and we still together collaborating. So it's not one project itself, but new projects might emerge from that.
You started it, and they will take it on, and maybe you will be there again for a follow-up.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I think all has been said. Or you want to add something, Kirsten?
No, I also want to appreciate the leadership and the support and the collaboration of our partners with Health Nest Uganda, Namara and Eunice, Saba, Kafero, and all the youth leaders there, as well as Hope for Youth Uganda, Peter, Diana, and all of the young people that came from Hope for Youth Uganda. That trust, that collaboration, and that leadership really made the process wonderful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good to hear, and I wish you all the best with possible follow-ups. And I want to thank you very much for sharing your story on Photovoice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Sebugwa. I'm Dennis, a youth member at Hope for Youth. My story relates to determination. It started way back in my high school, where the head teacher implemented some policies which seemed bad to we, the young men in the school. So it introduced brick making, not knowing that brick making may help us in the future. So we used to make bricks. Sometimes we used to dodge because of the brick making. The head teacher had to put more emphasis on that because they wanted to get raw materials through the students. Then I had to dodge. Some of our friends dropped from schools, but for us we continued. As I completed my senior 4 high school, I ran short of my parents couldn't pay for my further education. So I reminded myself about the days we used to make bricks for the school without any payment. So I started making bricks so that I can go on. So the skills I acquired from the school helped me to raise funding for my further education. So some things help us to achieve in the future. So right now I'm studying Kyambogo University. I'm in my 3rd year. So I'm happy that I gained the skills from the school, and which helped me to develop my career. So that is my simple story I would like to share with you people.
Hi everyone, I'm Dana Nandija from Mukono. I volunteer with Hope for Youth in Mukono, work with the kids. I'm really happy today because I'm in Entebbe, and like the volunteers that were some of the people that have come to Uganda, they just gave us cameras and told us to walk around to draw some of the pictures that can spark off our stories. So when I was walking, I found a mango tree. Then I just remembered something funny I did in my childhood, not necessarily childhood, but when I was like kind of 12 years. So it so happened that I like to eat mangoes a lot. So one day, because at home we used to have a cow, so Dad could tell me, Dana, please escort me to take the cow for grazing. So I said, okay, yes. And during that time, it was a season for mangoes. So I was very happy. I didn't even step back because I wanted to go and eat the mangoes. So we went, and after taking the cow, now I had to go to look for mangoes, to hunt for mangoes. So I was really lucky because like it was morning, and when it's morning you just find the mangoes, they're just down there, they have already fallen. So I found myself, I was only there, and I was very happy because the mangoes were just there waiting for me. And what I had to pick. Can you imagine, even not even washing the mangoes? I just started eating, and it was really good. So I think some of those people like in outside countries should really come to Uganda, because some of the things are free. You don't need to buy, whereby if you're in a village, you go and find a mango tree, you pick, you eat, and the mangoes are very sweet. Yeah, so some of you should really come to Uganda and experience the beauty of the fruits, how sweet they are. Yes, that's my story.